Okay, good morning. So we're starting with a whole new section of work today, and it is the human reproductive system. And we're actually going to look at the male reproduction first, just because it's a little simpler, and you will need these two worksheets. So in this lesson 1, we're looking at the parts and the functions of the male reproductive system, which means if you look at the picture on the left-hand side, it shows you an unlabeled diagram of the male reproductive system from the front, so a frontal view. On the right-hand side, you see a side view. Now, the thing is that you can get any surprise in an exam. They can give you a frontal view picture or a side view picture, so the best is to actually learn the labels on both and understand them. And then you don't get surprises in the exams. So I'm going to go through them part by part using different pictures, and what I'd like you to do is label these two diagrams that you have on the slide now. These two, label the missing labels, fill in the parts as you watch the video, and see how many of the functions you can catch as well. And those that you don't catch, by the end of the video, I'll give you all the functions and all the labels that you've missed. But see how much you can catch while we go through this video. So obviously we know the position of the male reproductive system. We know that's in the lower abdomen. The male reproductive organs are actually outside of the body. Now, there's a very specific reason why we find it on the outside of the body. If you look at this diagram, you can see the testes. We've got the left and the right testes situated on either side of the penis, and the testes are surrounded by skin called the scrotum. Now, the reason why the male reproductive organs are on the outside of the body is because this skin called the scrotum that surrounds the testes and the penis is actually able to stretch or shrink. And what happens is that the function of the scrotum, the skin that surrounds the testes, is that it regulates the temperature of the testes inside, which means if it's a very cold day, the scrotum will constrict, or it will pull closer the testes towards the body, so the testes heats up a little bit. If it's a really warm day, the scrotum will relax, the skin will become more stretched, and the testes will hang further away from the body, because then the testes will cool down a little bit. The reason why we need the testes to be moved further away or closer to the body to regulate the temperature is because sperm is made in the testes. That's its function. The function of the testes is to make sperm, but sperm actually gets produced at a temperature that is lower than human body temperature. So you need the testes to always be a little bit cooler than human body temperature. So if we look just at one testis, let's look at this picture. And I know it's blue-greenish. It's obviously not what it really looks like. It's just a picture. But you can see the testes, which is about the size of a large olive or a smallish egg. And inside the testes, like I said, is where sperm is produced. Now, when the sperm is produced in the testes, the mature sperm will actually move into this dark blue area called the epididymis, where the sperm is temporarily stored. So the function of the epididymis is actually that it is tubules or small tubes situated at the back of each testis where the mature sperm are stored. Now, when the sperm is needed, either during sexual intercourse or when they age, the sperm will be released from the epididymis. It'll go out and then move out of this long tube going upward called the vas deferens. Now, the vas deferens is actually the sperm duct or the tube that transports the sperm from the testes to the urethra. Now, this is what it literally looks like. If we had to take a scalpel and cut open the scrotum, the skin around the testes, this is what it would look like. You can see the sperm produced inside the seminiferous tubules found inside the testes, and then the mature sperm formed in the epididymis. Now, let's just hang on. You've just heard a very big new swear word there. And the swear word I used there was seminiferous tubules. Now, seminiferous tubules are actually little tubes found inside the epididymis. So this is a cross-section of what a testis would look like inside. And you can see the testis itself inside is made up of lots of little tubes. If we had to look under a microscope, it looks like this. It looks like a pot of 2-minute noodles. I know it looks weird calling it 2-minute noodles, but these little tubes are called the seminiferous tubules. Now, the seminiferous tubules is where the sperm are made. If I had to take one of these seminiferous tubules and I cut it through and I look into it, that's what you would see. This is an enlarged cross-section of one of the seminiferous tubules. The purple-looking cells all around are the cells that is going to mature and develop into sperm. And then the yellow on the inside are actually the tails of the already formed sperm. Now, we will look at this in more detail in the next lesson, but obviously just keep in mind that in real life, sperm and a cross-section of the seminiferous tubules isn't really purple and yellow, okay? It looks like this because it gets stained in a lab before it's photographed, so it's colored with some kind of ink, all right? So if we look at a side view now of the male reproductive system, you can see the position of the testis on the outside of the body. In this case, it's to the left behind the penis, with the epididymis around it at the top where the sperm is stored. And then you can clearly see how the vas deferens, the sperm duct, actually goes from the epididymis in the testes upward into the body. It loops around the bladder, connecting to the urethra, and then exiting the body through the penis. Okay, but the thing is, when sperm is made in the testis, it is just sperm. As it moves up the vas deferens and it loops around the bladder, it goes past this little organ called the seminal vesicle. And the function of the seminal vesicle is that it creates a fluid called seminal fluid. And seminal fluid will actually add liquid, all right, or fluid, which feeds the sperm. So it changes, it's a liquid that acts as food and as a medium for transport for the sperm. So by the time the sperm comes around the bladder and comes past the seminal vesicle, this liquid gets added to the sperm, and it's no longer just called sperm, it is now called semen. Now, the two other glands that you can see here, called the prostate gland and Cowper's gland, will also add liquids. So sperm moves from the epididymis through the vas deferens into the vagina during ejaculation. But the three sets of glands that help semen form and sperm move and survive that long are called the prostate gland, the seminal vesicles, and the Cowper's gland. They will all secrete a slightly alkaline fluid that will help neutralize the acidity of the vagina and then prolong the lifespan of the sperm. If we look at a frontal view of the male reproductive system, you can clearly see the seminal vesicles on either side of the urethra, the prostate gland, the big round thing just underneath the bladder, and then Cowper's gland. So all three of these make a liquid called seminal fluid that'll help make semen, which will keep the sperm alive. So on this side view, you can clearly see how everything fits together. So we've got the big bladder there in the middle. Just behind it, we see the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland, which add liquids to make semen. And then the journey of the sperm would start in the testes and then move through the epididymis all the way up and around the vas deferens until it becomes the urethra and then exits the urethra through the penis. Now you can see where the bladder, the tube, the urethra, exits the bladder. Once that urethra and the vas deferens join, that little duct is called the ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory duct. All right, so if I spoke a little bit too fast, you can pause the video here to help you copy down some labels. All right, so you can pause the video here and see how many functions and parts you can do on your own. Otherwise, here follows some of the functions that I went through quite quickly. You can copy them down from the screen, and you can also pause if you need to copy them down. Make sure you get all the detail down of every part's name and every part's function. Watch the video twice if you need. And then as soon as you've got all the labels and the functions, send me a photo of your work.